I was looking online. You have several. Are they classical piano releases?
Yeah, I don't do that anymore. I used to do a classical. I had 5 of them, 5 records, and but I don't do that stuff anymore.
Oh, really? What made you stop that?
No interest.
I think he's in a funk. You never say never. It might come back to him.
I might get back into it.
Yeah, he's just kind of, he's busy running Musonia too. So.
Of course, yeah. And that's still a working school, huh?
Yeah, it's 75 years.
Incredible. And what's your daily life like when you're teaching? Like, how does that roll when you're doing the school? Are you like showing up at early in the morning and then it runs through like a 9 to 5 thing?
No, we don't usually start in the morning. We kind of start in the afternoon.
Oh, perfect for musicians.
Yeah.
Are you giving lessons personally?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I teach drums and voice. And then we have other teachers that teach the other instruments.
He also has a lot of people that come from everywhere that want to take a tour.
Yeah, we have a lot of tours
of Musonia, and he's excellent at that. So if anybody wants a tour, we could give the number for that too.
Go ahead, sure.
Yes, it's back up again.
Okay, so give the number for Musonia.
818-761-0521.
That phone number's been in existence for 75 years.
One thing that I also posted recently on the website was an old school, I think Nick Menza's account, whoever's running it, posted where he was in your band in the 80s.
Yes, I worked with him for 3 years.
There was a video that I embedded on there where it was like Push Shove was the song.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was a TV appearance and you guys performing, but Nick was in the band. You could clearly tell it was him, but yeah, it looked like it was a TV performance that you guys did.
It might have been for France. I think they shot video for a French TV show.
And you toured those records back in the 80s?
Sure.
And Nick, was he a student at the school or was he a teacher?
No, actually, he was a teacher. For a little while, he was the drum teacher. He wasn't a student.
He the one that had the heart attack?
Yeah.
At the baked potato, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Megadeth drummer.
Mm-hmm.
George Lynch taught there as well at your school?
Yeah, he took over from Randy when he went with Ozzy.
Yeah. Rudy Sarzo's taught there.
And anything stand out about George Lynch teaching there or any stories?
I wasn't there then. I was working someplace else, and I really wasn't involved in that. He lost some of the students, though.
Lost some of Randy's students?
Yeah. Randy had some female students that really came for other reasons than guitar lessons.
They came to give Randy soup.
Maybe once they didn't get Randy, they quit. I don't know. Got a lot of students.
Yeah, he did. He had like 60.
That's incredible. So he was just working. Job. He was just working, full time?
Just about.
And then he could do, he could work it around the Quiet Riot performances too at that time. And he was happy doing that. But, he kind of beat the Quiet Riot thing to the point it never quite got the record deal that they wanted. And so he got into the teaching, which he really loved to do. He was an excellent teacher.
He really was very dedicated.
He was still living with your mom, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even through Ozzy.
Yep.
Yeah.
He never had been on his own. Well, you think about it. When he went with Ozzy, he probably was like 22 years old. Now, when he toured he toured in the UK, and we didn't see him for longer periods. But then they started touring in the United States. And then we'd see him once in a while, and we'd go with him. When his concerts were around here, of course, we'd all go with him. My mom, my brother, even my husband would go. It was good times, I'll tell you.
And so why didn't you play drums in Quiet Riot?
I don't know. Really, by that time, we weren't getting along very well. And I don't think I was good enough to play drums in that band.
Oh, okay. You and Randy weren't getting along?
No.
Really?
Yeah, we weren't getting along then.
Huh.
What was that? Kind of sibling stuff or just?
Yeah, the sibling stuff.
Randy was kind of at a cocky stage at that point, don't you think? He was kind of...
Yeah.
He had all these crazy friends then, and I remember that time. Anyway,
Yeah, that's what Kevin had mentioned, something like that, with like how everybody kind of remembers Randy as being very sweet, but he said he was also really funny and had kind of
very mischievous at that time.
kind of a smart ass approach to.
Yep. Once he went on the road with Ozzy, that all changed. He really became grounded and focused and completely came back a different person. So, I mean, we all go through stages like that when we're teenagers. So anyway, that's what I guess that's what he's referring to. But he was an excellent drummer. He doesn't give himself credit enough. My brother, Kelle.
Did you guys get along with Kevin?
Kevin's a character. I mean, I never disliked Kevin. She just was. The way I would put it, once Kevin was in a room, you always knew Kevin was there. He just was bigger than life. So, but Randy genuinely liked Kevin, don't you think?
He did.
Yeah.
He's also responsible for a lot of the way that Randy looked. Randy really liked his opinions.
Because Randy almost looked kind of hippie. I was almost amazed when I think I saw a picture in early 70s and how long his hair was at that time.
Yeah. Probably about 15, I think he started growing it real long. Before that, it was just kind of at his like chin length with a part down the middle. But then once he started getting into the music, shortly after going to the Alice Cooper concert, that really turned his head around.
Yeah, that changed him.
Going for more glam.
And what did you think of Kevin, Kelle?
He didn't bother me. He was all right. I didn't have a problem with him because of the fact that Randy was my brother. I was kind of off limits for him. He didn't bother me too much.
He'd be up at the house a lot. They'd jam and they'd goof off and they'd talk, and that's all. Just remember that. They actually shared a girlfriend together. I mean, not together at the same time, but Kevin dated the same girl that eventually Randy dated at the end, towards the end of his life. First, it was Kevin's girlfriend. Then Randy started dating with her and was his girlfriend till the end of his passing.
Jodi?
Yeah.
Do you guys stay in touch with her?
Absolutely not.
No, we saw her recently. I've seen her at a couple events, and I spoke to her. Actually, the last time I saw her was at the Whiskey. What was that event? Oh, Frankie Benelli. When Frankie Benelli passed, there was some things at the Whiskey, and then at the funeral for him there. Yeah, and then I know what it was. They put the statue of Frankie Benelli at the Whiskey, like a dedication.
Rainbow?
No, yeah, the rainbow. I'm sorry, I said the Whiskey, didn't I?
Yeah.
No, I said that incorrectly. I meant the rainbow. That's the last time I saw her. But I have seen her at the Whiskey several times.
And you saying absolutely not? Do you guys not get along with her or something?
Well, let me just explain to you that Randy had a lot of friends.
Yeah.
And a lot of them they did things after he left that we didn't like.
Yeah, and that's as far as we're going to go with that.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
So some friends kind of did some bad things.
And they all did it together, too. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
go forward. We don't go backward.
Sure. So. And Kelle, you worked at Capitol Records. I came across something.
Oh, you did your research. I started there in September of 73, and I worked at Capitol Records for a while. When then they wouldn't promote me, I went over to ABC Records.
What were you doing there?
Well, at Capitol, I was in the mailroom, and I got to the point where I was in charge of what came into the Capitol Tower and what was sent out. And I wanted to go into, like publicity, and they wouldn't promote me. So Margie Buffett, Jimmy Buffett's first wife, got me a job at ABC Records. And when I went over there, I was in the departments that I liked better.
Did you do A&R at all?
No.
Okay.
Mostly publicity.
Okay.
But then I was the unfortunate recipient of a big layoff. They changed the publicity department, and they brought in people from A&M Records. So I kind of got pink slipped.
What year was that?
Would have been 75.
You didn't work with any other record companies later?
No, I had a lot of trouble. So I said, if I'm going to have this much trouble, I'll just get back into performing. That's at the point that I got back involved in performing.
And the Violet Fox was like about a year band that you guys had together?
Less than a year. I played drums in that band, and it didn't last for too long.
So the only song that you and Randy ever wrote together was Back to the Coast?
Correct.
Was that more in the Violet Fox era, or was that
After?
Quiet Riot.
Yeah, after. It was just like around the time he just started with Quiet Riot, and we wrote that song together.
And then it's on a Quiet Riot release, right?
Yeah.
And you guys were coming up, of course, in that scene, starting back with Van Halen and all that. Were you aware of Eddie Van Halen or Van Halen prior to them kind of busting out?
Yeah.
He was from not far, Pasadena's not far from Burbank, so we were kind of in the same area, pretty close proximity.
They played one concert together.
Well, not with each other. It's the same venue, but not with one another.
No, but Van Halen played and Quiet Riot played too.
At the Glendale Civic Auditorium.
Yeah, I thought they did play a show together. They didn't?
They did.
No, they did.
Oh, okay.
They did.
But not in the same band, different band.
Oh, of course. Yeah, because I think I had interviewed Don Dock, and he talked about, I think, being at that show. Did you guys go to that show?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I didn't.
You didn't go, right?
No, I didn't.
I went. Randy had a real high fever, and he still did pretty good.
Had you seen Van Halen prior to that?
Yeah, at the Whiskey, I saw him. That's a club.
Of course, yeah. Still around to this day.
Still there.
Still there.
Still there.
And so, of course, with that documentary, I saw you guys participated in that, right?
No, it's unauthorized.
No, it's unauthorized. A lot of people say they liked it. I guess that's good. Again, it was a question of the people that were friends and stuff with Randy, and they just did it on their own. Didn't even include us.
They used footage that's already been out there.
Yeah, like the footage where I'm talking in it, that was actually for a release that was something that came out with a bunch of people doing Randy's songs, and they interviewed us for that project, and they used that footage.
Yeah, and the interviews in there are from 2008.
Yeah, they're in the past.
Some of them are new, but the ones of like Kelle talking and other people.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
It wasn't done for that project. It was done for something else.
Something else.
Wow, and then they licensed it or something, maybe?
No, I don't think so.
They contacted me on, because I had released a clip of Kevin's interview talking about when Nikki Sixx auditioned for Quiet Riot. They said, hey, we'll pay you this amount of money. Here's the release form. I said, sure, well, that's fine. And they sent me the release form. I signed it, sent it back. They even had doubled their offer because I took a while to send it back. And I said, you don't need to do that. Just pay me the original amount. That's fine. And then they stiffed me.
Not surprised.
Not surprised.
Not surprised at all. What does that tell you without us saying a word?
So it's in there, and which was kind of cool to hear. So you guys haven't even watched it, huh?
He has.
I watched it. It was okay, but it was very limited. It was just about the very beginnings.
I know, yeah. I thought that was a bit strange that it didn't kind of...
Well, they couldn't use anything else because...
They didn't have permission to use the...
Sharon and Ozzy didn't give them permission.
For the music rights.
Oh, okay. And they couldn't just stiff them.
The footage, the people that talk in it, it was a release that Bob Kulick did with different people. And they interviewed him at the school for this project.
The music school, you mean?
Yeah, the music school. Can't remember the name of the project, but my wife came up with the name and they used that. So that's where those came from.
Incredible. And so Bob's gone. So
right.
Wow. Okay. Unbelievable. Of course, that documentary touched on it, and then I posted something recently of an old school Guitar World interview with Randy. Was Eddie an influence on Randy?
I guess you could say that in some way. Randy thought he was good.
Yeah, but I want to say something too. Randy thought they had very different styles.
Mm-hmm.
So he never liked being compared to him. He thought that was not good. Like, we have our own styles, we're different. Randy had more classical, influences in his playing. Eddie was more flash. So,
but they got along, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I don't think they didn't hang out or anything, but I think there was a mutual respect. But I've heard things that Eddie has said that Randy copied him, and I don't think that's true at all.
The thing with Randy, too, is you only get a couple of magical records, you know, so you only have like...
If he had had a chance to continue playing, I mean, you can imagine.
Now, the classical kind of came in, what year did that come in? Because I know that was a little later, right, when he started going down that path?
He never really got into the classical music until he was touring.
With Ozzy.
With Ozzy, yeah.
Yeah, instead of doing drugs with Ozzy, he'd go in between concerts, get out a yellow page book for those of us that are older. Used to look up people for the yellow pages, and he'd find from a university an instructor, and he'd take lessons on the road.
Oh, yeah. I always was fascinated by that. And he wasn't a partier at all, really, right?
I'm not going to say he was an angel, but no. I mean, if you even asked Ozzy, he
was a real serious musician.
Yeah, he was
really wanted
serious
to further his studies. He even told Ozzy he wanted to get a degree from college.
My mom's.
Yeah.
UCLA here.
And
in
he
LA.
wanted to not tour for a while.
And my mom was in the beginning of signing him up to go start. That was her alma mater school.
Wow, she was starting to sign him up?
Yeah, getting in order for him to start taking classical, you know, he wanted to get his master's degree in classical music. That's what he wanted to do.
When I interviewed Max Norman, I had asked him about that. I didn't know if you guys would even want to talk about that part because it's on like Wikipedia, and then I know Rudy Sarzo in his book had acknowledged kind of that Speak of the Devil time where Randy didn't want to do the live record, or nobody in the band did, and they were at first refusing, and Ozzy was kind of a complete train wreck at that time and really partying a lot and kind of got angry. They said Sharon was okay with it, but Ozzy got quite angry that they didn't want to do the album. And Randy did agree. They said finally, because Ozzy was kind of messing with them a lot and saying they bring in like, I forgot, Frank Zappa or somebody else to do the record and just kind of messing with him. And so eventually he agreed, it said, Randy agreed. But that was around the time that he said, I'm leaving, I'll fulfill my contract, which would have been, I guess, Bark at the Moon, like do that record and the tour. And then he was out. But, you know, when I was looking at your Instagram, Kathy, you have a letter from Randy, and I was wondering which era that was from, or what time period, rather, that was from, where he talked about how great Ozzy is. And
yeah, that was the beginning when he first went over there. When he first went there, Ozzy was actually still married to Thelma and had a family. And Randy actually lived in the house with them for a short while. And that's what the letter is referring to, that they got along, and Ozzy was trying to find a flat for him or something. And he was afraid of losing Randy. So he, you know, wanted Randy to stay with them. Yeah,
they remained really, really good friends. There's a lot of misconception about that period of time. What Randy's intention was just not to tour anymore.
Yeah, he got sick of touring. He was homesick.
Yeah, he was going to go back and join Ozzy in the studio.
Yeah,
to make more records.
And I even said, I was talking to the office management of the Osbournes the other day, and I was telling them that I bet you anything, if Randy was alive, he would have been on this new album, Patient Number 9.
It's bizarre to even think about, like Randy would have just done the records and then not toured.
Probably.
That was what he thought.
Yeah.
But there was no, as far as you guys know, there wasn't any tension with that live album, and they were still friends and everything was fine till the end.
I know Ozzy wasn't happy. He wanted to leave. Randy said, I want to go to UCLA. He said, you can fucking buy your own university by the time you're done there. Mm-hmm. And Randy just was driven, and you know,
he wanted to study. He wanted to.
He wanted to get into his classical music. My personal theory is he would have combined classical music and rock and blown us all out of the water and just created something crazy unique.
Do you think he would have done more solo releases, or he wouldn't have been in Quiet Riot when they exploded?
No, when he left Quiet Riot, his intention was to go back, but I don't think he would have. No. I think that once everything had advanced the way it did, he would have probably worked a little bit with Ozzy, worked on new records, and then he would have done something his own. He
might have, like done like a song or so with the Quiet Riot, like a reunion show and showed up or something, maybe. I think he might have done something like that.
Yeah, which he did. You have a picture of like from 81 when he played a gig with Quiet Riot, like came home.
Yeah, we were there. That was at the Whiskey, right?
Yeah.
And then Sharon told him he couldn't do that again.
Oh, really?
Well, he was under contract with them, so she didn't like it.
So Don Arden, was he managing it from the beginning, or was it Sharon's brother?
In the beginning, and then he turned it over to his son.
Right.
He didn't do a very good job, so then he gave it to Sharon. And then
so we were around through all that transition.
Yeah.
And were you either of you, but probably more Kelle, if anybody was into Black Sabbath, were either of you into Black Sabbath?
I was. Randy wasn't.
Randy was not at all.
He didn't like Black Sabbath.
No. As a matter of fact, he didn't like playing Black Sabbath songs at the concerts that he had to perform with Ozzy.